All right, great. It is 12:02, so we will get rolling. For those who don't know me, my name is Danielle Goldman. I am co-founder and CEO of the Build Fellowship. I originally started Open Avenues Foundation back in 2017, if you can believe it. I don't know if anyone's been following along for the journey of Open Avenues Foundation, but I cannot believe it has been that long. I co-founded Open Avenues Foundation with my father, Jeff Goldman, who is an immigration attorney, has been for more than 3 decades, and certainly for my whole life. So together we founded Open Avenues Foundation and this Build Fellowship model to continue to open unique pathways for foreign nationals in a variety of temporary work visa areas and pathways, including the CAP exempt H-1B and now the O-1. So we're thrilled to be here, and it's just me today. I am thrilled to be here to talk to you more about what we offer here at the Build Fellowship, how this unique visa solution actually works, and how this might be something that you can apply for and consider when you are thinking of your next steps in the United States. So just to get started, the Build Fellowship is a program that was built right out of the Open Avenues Foundation model of a CAP exempt H-1B organization. And our goal at Build is to continue to innovate and create immigration solutions for the world's top talent. So we are here to be solutions oriented, to figure out how to make these different work visa pathways work for you. And we've done a lot of innovating within a very restrictive immigration system. You all know that the immigration system is restrictive because you've probably Googled all of these work visas before, and you've tried to figure out if you are qualified for any of them, and you have tried to fit yourself into a box of, am I an O-1? Am I an H-1B? Should I do an E-2? So I'm going to very briefly run through the visas that are temporary work visas on this slide to explain and reiterate something that you probably already know. There are temporary work visas, and then there are green cards. Green cards are long-term solutions for you to stay in the United States as residents. Temporary work visas are for individuals who want to work in the United States, and often you are waiting for your green cards to be filed or finding an employer that's willing to invest in you and your future path, or you are going to file your own green card during this time, but you need work authorization in the meantime. So the typical trajectory for an individual who has been in the US for school is OPT, figuring out a temporary work visa, and green card. Some people skip temporary work visas and go right to green card, but it's very, very rare. And we're not here to talk about that path today. We're here to talk about about temporary work visa solutions, specifically one where most of you on this call are going to be qualified for. So we're going to talk about, just briefly, this O-1. This is for extraordinary talent. You must meet 3 of the 8 criteria. All of you have your computers right now. You could Google, what are the 8 criteria of an O-1? You must be a judge of, a few of them are you are a judge of others' work within your field. You have been published within your field. You have awards within your field. Those are some of the most common O-1 criteria that exist to see if you are qualified. And we actually have an O-1 webinar next week for anyone who wants to join and hear from attorneys about strategies to qualify for an O-1. The TN visa is a temporary work visa if you are from Canada or Mexico in a STEM profession. The L1 is if you have a multinational corporation. So the corporation that you work for or employed by is one that is located both outside the US and inside the US, and you have worked at least 1 year outside the United States as a manager or as in a managerial position or role, or one with specialized knowledge. If you think that's you, you could consider an L1. A lot of folks think F1 CPT is their best bet. Every single time I bring up F1 CPT to an attorney, they roll their eyes and say, oh, yeah, because F1 CPT is an opportunity to go back to school for you to do another master's degree or a master's degree. And if it's a legitimate program, awesome. Good solution. There are first day CPT programs where you can work first day of your CPT and be in school and working at the same time. There are a lot of programs that have been seen as USCIS as fraud and illegitimate. And so because of that scrutiny over historically, attorneys are often saying it's just not plan A if you need another option. Also, being an F1 does not allow you to have immigrant intent, which means you can't file you can file the green card, but then you really can't travel outside the United States, because if you come back in and you're on CPT and you have an immigrant and you have a green card pending, you're demonstrating you have immigrant intent, and you're going to get, it's not going to be positive for you. So that's a fact about F1 CPT. And while it's a really good solution for many who want it legitimately, if you're using it as a plan B, there are some drawbacks. An E2 investor visa, if you are from a treaty country, and there is a list of them you can Google, then you can invest or work for a US company, a substantial investment that is at risk. And if you can demonstrate that you've made that investment, or you are employed by an entity that is 50% or more owned by an individual from an E2 treaty country, then you are, and you're from that country, then you can get an E2 visa. The H-1B is the most common. It's the most common work visa. You just have to have at least a bachelor's degree in a field, and you have to be working for a company in that role that uses that degree within that field. So if you are a software developer and you want to go get an H-1B for a tech company, you have to be working as a software developer. So there's a reason the H-1B is the most common work visa. You have to have just that bachelor's degree and a US employer that wants you to work within that field. But as many of you or all of you probably know on this call, H-1Bs, while they're the most common, are limited in number. There's only 85,000 per year, and it's on a lottery system. This year, the selection rate was about 30%. And then with the second lottery, there was another 3% selected, but I actually think that 30% is the total. When I did all the math, it really is about 30% total, even after the second lottery that just happened a few weeks ago. So how do we get around this lottery, right? Everyone on this call is here because you've probably entered the lottery, or you are trying to figure out an alternate path to an H-1B because you are sitting here saying, I don't want my future to depend on a randomized lottery system, right? That's what I would be thinking. But the reality is we should consider cap exempt H-1Bs as a solution. Now, Jeff Goldman, my co-founder, and a brilliant entrepreneurial mind in the immigration space, said cap exempt H-1Bs are an awesome solution because A, and he said this 10 years ago, A, they're not subject to the annual lottery cap. They can be filed at any time of year, and they have the same qualifications and benefits as a cap subject H-1B. So what is a cap exempt H-1B? There are 4 types of organizations in the US that qualify as cap exempt, meaning they don't have to enter people into the lottery. They can file H-1Bs at any time of year outside of the lottery system. And those are universities, government research institutions, nonprofit research institutions, and nonprofits affiliated with colleges and universities. So if you work for one of these, awesome. If you work full-time for a university and you're on this call, great. That university should file a full-time cap exempt H-1B for you, and you can work immediately after that is approved. Most of you, and there are 43 of you on this call right now, my bet is that none of you work for a cap exempt organization full-time, but you work for a company that you want to be able to work for full-time. And so one of the really cool things about the cap exempt H-1B and what our model at the Build Fellowship is based on is the fact that you can work 5 hours per week, minimum, at part-time on a CAP exempt H-1B for one of these 4 types of organizations. And if you are in part-time CAP exempt H-1B status with one of these 4 organizations, then any US employer can file a full-time H-1B for you outside of the lottery system immediately. So for us at the Build Fellowship, and this is historically what we've done with Open Avenues Foundation, is that our nonprofit affiliated with a university, that's number 4 on this list, Open Avenues Foundation, and our new nonprofit partners, Dream Venture Labs and George Washington University, they are CAP exempt, meaning we hire foreign nationals to work part-time for us. And that allows you to go work full-time and have a full-time H-1B filed for you, CAP exempt, for any US employer. Okay, so you hold 2 H-1Bs. One is with Open Avenues Foundation or one of our nonprofits affiliated with a university for 5 hours a week. And then the other is with your full-time employer that files the concurrent CAP exempt H-1B on top of the 5-hour per week visa approval. Okay, what do you do in the Build Fellowship for 5 hours a week though? And how do we create these positions? So what we do at the Build Fellowship is we hire foreign nationals to work 5 hours remotely, wherever you are located, to lead projects within your field. Margarita is a civil engineer, and she scoped a project that she leads for her fellowship in the field of civil engineering. She works 5 hours a week leading these sessions. You can see the 8 sessions that she wrote on the side. And students can go and they can sign up right here for her project. Her project is something that is within her skill sets. She feels comfortable leading this kind of material for students. She then is qualified for us to file a 5-hour per week CAP exempt H-1B for her. And Margarita has an engineering company in the construction space that has filed a full-time CAP exempt H-1B for her. So she works for both organizations. She works part-time for the Build Fellowship and full-time for her engineering company. So how does this work? Timeline. We take about 2 weeks to do an evaluation of your eligibility. You have to have, we'll go into eligibility in a minute, but at a baseline, you have to have a bachelor's degree and you have to have an employer that wants to hire you full-time. Or you can, we have an alternate path for individuals who are looking for a job right now. We'll talk about it. It takes 8 weeks for visa processing to get an approval. We have a 99% approval rate on the visas that we file for our fellows. Then it takes about 1 week to start employment and have your full-time employer, that engineering company, the tech company, the biotech company that you work for full-time that you want to keep working for. They can file the full-time visa on top of ours, and you can immediately start working for both the fellowship part-time and full-time for that employer. So this is the timeline. Now, if you're outside the United States, please note that you have an increased amount of time because you have to go to the consulate and get a visa stamp on your passport, right? Okay. Just so you know the extent to which we've been doing this for the last 5 years that we've been running this actively. 200 companies, actually probably more like 250 at this point, have gone through this program to retain their talent. That means your employer, whether it's the tech company, the biotech company, the engineering firm, the company contracts with us and says, hey, I really want to keep my key engineer, my software developer. I have 5 software developers I want to bring from Ukraine. They contact us and we do this program for fellows and we do this program for their talent. We have a 99% success rate for those visas that we file. We have trained more than 1,000 students who have participated in these projects. We have done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of projects and thousands, more than 1,000 students have been trained. And we have now 15 colleges and universities across the United States that we are partnered with to make this model happen. So that is how this works. We've worked with these are just some examples of companies that have actually worked with us to keep their talent. So if you work for a company and you want to tell them that this is a solution, you can point to these companies that have done this. We also worked with AngelList. We've worked with, who did we work with recently? Boring Company. We've worked with, there's a few others that are notable names, Sientra in California. So we have a longer list than this. I just wanted to give you a few on here that you can point to. To be eligible for this program, let's talk about it. You need a bachelor's degree at the minimum, or at least the equivalent of a bachelor's degree. So maybe some of you have worked more than 10 years in your field, but you never got a bachelor's degree. That can also count. It says STEM or business related field. I have to update this slide because we now take lawyers, architects, we take marketing professionals, we take folks who are mental health practitioners. We've really expanded the fields in which you need to work. So you can ask the question, but we certainly have many openings for individuals in a variety of fields. The key is that one of the fields is a specialty field that the Department of Labor has deemed is a specialty occupation. If you're interested in an H-1B, you will have heard this term before, but you can look up specialty occupations in the United States, and the Department of Labor has a long list. Something that is not a specialty occupation is being an entrepreneur, right? Or a CEO. That's because that could take any degree to do. I'm a CEO and I have a political science degree, but that political science degree did not prepare me to be a CEO. So CEO is not a specialty occupation. A software developer is a really clear specialty occupation. But there's a list of thousands of specialty occupations. So you just need to find which one is most relevant to you to know if you're qualified for an H-1B and therefore for our program. We want to see that you have at least 2 years of work experience. Your time in OPT definitely counts towards that. We want to see that you have experience mentoring or working with students or peers, or that you've received a job offer and that you have a job offer from a US employer. We partner with companies that want to do this program with you, for you. Most of those companies I showed you on the previous slide, right? Brainify and Camp4 and Discerna, they had employees they wanted to keep. And the way that they did that was they paid for our fellowship program. And we ran this entire, we do the visa, we do the ongoing education programming. We run all of these projects for every single fellow. That is what our company partners are paying for. The company partners pay us $4,000 a month. That includes the program fees for the education program and the visa sponsorship for your part-time CAP-exempt H-1B. Very important. It also includes 5 hours per week of your salary. You get that money back. That should be about $1,000 to $1,500 per month. That means that the company can actually reduce what they pay you by that $1,500 per month. So what that means is that the cost for the company should actually be about $2,500 to $3,000 per month. And that is how we cover all of our costs and stay compliant. So when you pitch this to an employer, you must say it's $4,000 a month that is invoiced to the Build Fellowship, but your cost is less because we're going to it's a portion of the salary. It's a portion of the compensation you receive from the employer. So I want to tell you that the fellow experience is not just about the visa. The fellows that work in our program are leading projects. They are doing work that gives them manager experience, that makes them feel like they know how to train entry-level staff. You feel good giving back to these students who participate in our programming. There are a lot of benefits. I want to tell you about Felix, who is a founder of Orb Labs. He went for the O1 and was thinking that was going to be his best bet, but he just didn't have the criteria to qualify. And he was going for the green card. He was trying to figure it out. He actually got the O1. The O1 was denied, but this was a really straightforward approach for him. He said, 6 to 8 weeks, he was approved for CAP exempt H-1B. And he spends 5 hours a week working with students who actually support some of the work that he needs to do for his company anyway. And so he's a great example of a fellow that we have in our program. Okay, I'm going to stop there and take questions on CAP exempt H-1Bs, and then we'll go into O1 Build Extraordinary. So I see questions that have come through the chat, and we will start there, and then I'm going to go to the raised hands. Question number 1, how long will it take to get a CAP exempt H-1B while you're in an OPT grace period? We have the option to do this, and it takes about 6 to 8 weeks. So we've done this for people while they're in their grace period, but we have to talk about it because it's an expedited process, but it's doable. So we have a nomination form on our website where you should fill that out for yourself, and we can move forward with that. You can also email info@buildfellowship.com. So what are options for non-CAP H or other work permit options? So we talked about the other options, but this is the CAP exempt H-1B option that we talked about here. Okay, so Mohsin, you asked, if I'm employed as an F1 RA or TA at a university part-time, can I get a CAP exemption from an R&D startup? Great question. You are asking, if I'm employed by a university part-time and I can get them to sponsor a CAP exempt H-1B part-time, can I then go work for any company? Yes, you can. If you can get a CAP exempt employer to say that they will sponsor you for a CAP exempt H-1B, heck yeah, you can go get your R&D startup to sponsor a concurrent full-time CAP exempt H-1B. That is the model. It's open to anybody. But what Jeff and I found is that university most likely is going to say no to you, because taking on the risk of sponsoring someone for an H-1B, it's a cost, but it's also a risk for them. Universities rarely do this. And if they do it for professors, right? So we are here to say, if you can't find that part-time employer, then we can do this for you in the Build Fellowship part-time. We create these positions, right? Yes, the visa itself, someone asked, could you confirm which company's name will I get the visa under? And is it going to be a CAP exempt entity or the CAP subject entity? Great question. It's confusing. We have Open Avenues Foundation and the Build Fellowship. The Build Fellowship is the name of the program, and we as an entity run the back end and make sure that this all flows in a compliant way. When you are employed in CAP exempt H-1B status, you are either employed by Open Avenues Foundation, which is our nonprofit, or you're employed by Dream Venture Labs, which is another nonprofit that's running the Build Fellowship. So we have multiple nonprofits and more that will be coming in the next year. You are employed by one of those CAP exempt entities part-time, and then you are also employed full-time by a company. That's your company, whether it's your own company or whether it's a larger company that wants to file a full-time CAP exempt H-1B for you. Okay. Annette, you asked, if my employer is a third-party vendor, a consultancy, does Build Fellowship support that type of employer? As long as it's a legitimate consultancy that controls your employment, stays compliant, is going to sponsor you for a legitimate H-1B, then yes, they can totally do our program if they're willing to pay. Okay. Medical field and doctors, we can do this for. So yes, we can make that work. Nurses, not so much, very complicated, but medical practitioners and doctors, that will work. Thank you, Ernesto. I'm glad you liked the presentation. Someone said, how would this work for someone currently searching for full-time employment? Very glad you asked. My guess is that many of you on the call are looking for full-time employment. Okay, so historically, for the last 5 years, there was no option if you didn't have an employer, okay? Because absolutely our model is built so that an employer pays for this program. But if you are looking for an employer and you have an entity, maybe it's your friend's entity, maybe it's your parent's entity, maybe it's your own entity, maybe it's a family friend who really wants to see you succeed in the United States. If you have an entity that can contract with us and pay the fellowship fees, then you can do the fellowship, but not if you're outside the United States. If you're outside the United States, you have to have an employer because you have to enter into the US on the full-time visa, not the part-time cap-exempt H-1B. That is our new guidance. So we call it a benefactor relationship. If you're unemployed and you can find a benefactor or an entity to file the full-time visa for you, then, sorry, not to contract with us and pay for our program, then we can move forward with that. You can go to our website and nominate yourself for the fellowship, and you will get to talk to our partnerships director who can help you talk about how you have an entity that can pay for this program. Canadian citizens, you can consider the TN, but you absolutely can do an H-1B. So you can do an H-1B and you enter the lottery, or you can do this cap-exempt H-1B where you don't wait for the lottery. Someone asked, is the second lottery cap completed as the information is not clear? It's done. All announcements have been made. The cap is closed. What qualifies an employer as cap exempt? 4 types of cap exempt organizations. You're a university, a government research institution, a nonprofit research institution. That could be a hospital. Some hospitals are cap exempt, or a nonprofit that is affiliated, partnered with universities. That's what we have. Okay. Someone said they're not clear on the cost of $4,000 a month. Is it covered by the company I'm working for or by me? It is covered by a company. A company always, always, always has to pay for this fellowship program. It cannot be you. In the US, you as a foreign national can never, ever pay for your own H-1B, and we certainly don't have any foreign nationals paying us directly for this fellowship program. However, you can have a company pay for your fellowship program. Okay, another question, someone who's an RA. Yeah, if you work for a university and they're willing to sponsor a cap-exempt H-1B part-time, then any US company, let me be clear, it doesn't matter if the company is affiliated with the school, it doesn't matter, it's not going to be a cap-exempt company. Any US company can file a concurrent cap-exempt H-1B. On top of your cap exempt status. Because once you're in cap exempt status, then you're in H-1B and any employer can file a visa. Have we had any issues with visa approvals since the employee goes back to home country? Yes, we had an issue when individuals were trying to enter on the 5-hour per week cap exempt H-1B only, which is why we have a new rule that you have to have a full-time employer also approved if you're going to travel back into the US. Mosine said, will this affect my F1 status? Yes, we do a change of status. You are no longer in F1. We change your status from F1 to cap exempt H-1B. Will you be sending out this presentation? Yes. I'm an HR generalist with OPT. This could work for HR professionals. There is an HR specialty occupation, so we could do this. If I'm in the US and I have my own company, can I work with you and pay from my business? Yes. If you have your own company, you absolutely can do this program and the company can contract with us. I have this up on Felix right now. Felix is his founder. He owns his company and he does our program for 5 hours a week, and Orb Labs, his company, contracts with us. My employer plans to bring 2 employees from India. The employee needs to pay every employee $4,000. Yes, this is a per person cost. If there's larger employers that have multiple fellows, we can come up with a discount. But for the most part, we have high cost per person. Jorge, can you elaborate more on the monthly cost? Yes, it's $4,000 per person. It includes the education program fees so that we can run this program. It includes the visa fees that we have to pay for the cap exempt H-1B, premium processing, government filing fees. All of that is included in this $4,000 per month flat fee. And the salary we have to pay you as a fellow for 5 hours of employment per week. That 5 hours of employment per week can be counted towards your company's total compensation that they offer you. Okay. F1, this person had an F1 that expired in July and has been working in day 1 CPT. Day 1 CPT, you can change your status to cap exempt H-1B. Many people don't want to be in CPT because you can't do the green card process smoothly and you want to actually be an H-1B. So you can do a change of status from CPT to H-1B. Just make sure you're maintaining your CPT status and documenting everything because we will need that for a petition. From outside the United States, you have to have a US employer that is willing to do the concurrent full-time employment for you. You cannot come from outside the US just on our visa. It can't work. What is the first contact with your organization to evaluate the situation? I am going to, if you go to buildfellowship.com, everywhere on our website, it says nominate for the fellowship or apply. And you can just fill out that form. It goes right to our partnerships team and they will work with you on that evaluation. Someone who does not have an employer needs a benefactor. How does this work? How about a consulting agency? PERT, that works. Any company that is a company in the US or even abroad can pay us for this program as long as it's a legitimate entity. So yes, a consulting agency can be an employer and a benefactor. Mohsin, I agree with you. $4,000 a month from an employer could be tricky. I highly recommend, it doesn't matter what an RA is paid or what those part-time roles are paid. The government tells you what you have to be paid for a specialty occupation. So first of all, an RA is not going to count as you can't sponsor an H-1B for an RA role. It has to be a TA because you're working in a specialty field. The key here, everyone, is if you are looking for part-time cap exempt H-1B employment, it has to be a legitimate job that you're going to be able to qualify as an H-1B role. That's what we've created here, a role for everyone within your field of occupation. A TA, an RA is not a specialty field. It doesn't require a degree, and you are not going to get a cap exempt H-1B through that. I thought it said TA before, so I apologize. The whole process takes 2 weeks for evaluation, 6 to 8 weeks for the processing time, and then approval. We file a 3-year visa PERT. So you said, how long does this go on for? We file a 3-year visa. I'm currently visiting on a visitor visa. Someone said that they are in civil engineering and they're seeking jobs in the field. If you find an employer, amazing. You can, if you're on a B1, B2 visitor visa and you're in the US for 60 days at least, you can file a change of status from B1, B2 to cap exempt H-1B. And there's no issue with that change of status and you don't have to leave the US, but you do need an employer or a benefactor to pay for this program. So Chantal, if you really wanted to and you had a company that could pay for this program for you, we could do a change of status from B1, B2 visitor visa to cap exempt H-1B. How do I get a sponsor? I can't answer that for you other than you need to find an employer that sees value in your work. How does this work for people outside the US? I just explained that. Can an H-1 applicant bring their spouse and children? Yes, PERT, you absolutely can. That's on an H-4 visa. That's the dependent visa. You just cannot work on it. There's no work authorization. If you're done with OPT, we do not help with getting a new employer. So I'm sorry about that. We don't do that work. Can you explain how we file through this fellowship and through the concurrent company? Yeah, we file a cap exempt H-1B part-time. We get an approval. As soon as you're in cap exempt status, that means that any US employer is able to immediately file their own petition and get an approval. It's that simple. It takes just another petition on top of ours. So it's $4,000 a month for the duration of the employment. Correct. $4,000 a month for as long as you need to be in cap exempt status. When you win the lottery, when you get a green card, you can leave our program, but you have to be in the program for at least 6 months, and then payment is for 1 year at least. That's how we cover our costs. Can you apply for a green card once you have the cap exempt H-1B? Yes, for sure. You absolutely can, and you should. Is there a way to have a one-on-one consultation with you guys? Does it have a cost? No cost. You can apply if you're qualified from your intake form on our website, then our partnerships team sets up a call with you. Can the company register for me on a regular H-1B lottery drawing while you're on H-1B cap exempt? 100%. Every single one of our fellows is entered into the lottery the next year. So you should absolutely do that. Okay. You mentioned that this would be applicable for people working in all fields. If someone is in sales and marketing, what types of companies or fellowships would I be doing? Yep, we have lots of marketing professionals. So if you look at our website and you look at our projects, we have tons of marketing professionals in our program. Okay, we have people from Egypt in our program. So if that's what someone's asking, that's possible. If you're searching for work and you've been laid off and you're in F1 CPT, that's fine. You can do change of status if you find an employer. Okay. To confirm, once you have a cap exempt approved, the question is, my private employer can apply for another non-exempt H-1B. It's cap exempt H-1B instead of the usual H-1B lottery. Later, the private company can also let me enter the H-1B lottery. And I will be doing this program until next step, like green card, is approved. Yes, you are right, Priya. You stay in this H-1B status until you have a green card work authorization EAD or until you win the lottery. Okay, when I go home to get my country stamp with my employer, you have seen cases where it was rejected. We did have cases where the H-1B visa stamp did not go through, but I just sued the government and we won, and they're all in the process of getting approved. So I don't worry about this moving forward, and we have a solution. People are now using the full-time approval to enter into the United States. No longer are they just going to enter on our 5-hour per week. I'm not willing to take the risk. I know we won the case. I know it's going to be fine, but I'm a very conscious person of your journeys, and I don't want to make this something where there's a risk for you. So that's the answer to those questions. 44 questions, rapid fire, guys. You had a lot there. I need a sip of water. All right, while I'm sipping some water, I think some people raised their hands. Let me see if I can answer any of those. Stephen, I'm going to allow you to talk. Do you want to ask your question? You're on mute.
Let me.
Stephen, can you hear us?
Well, I'm so interested in traveling, going there. Like, what's like called operating from Nigeria here. So I really need an idea what I can do, and I don't have someone over there. So that's just it. I don't have someone over there, but I'm really, really interested in working, and operating through a company. If there's a company that can sponsor me, come over, then
Yeah.
I will pay back once I start making money. How will that work out, please?
Yeah.
I need you here.
Okay. So we do not, I will repeat to everyone, we do not do placement of individuals with employers. If you have an employer, amazing, come talk to us and we can do this fellowship program for you. If you have a company that can pay for this fellowship and you are in the US, then talk to us. We have a solution for you. If you do not have a company and you are outside the United States, I do not have a solution for you. So that is what I want to make very clear. Okay. Um, Okay, so two more questions I'm gonna answer. One, I'll just say that this recording, I'll send it out. Two, the H-1B visa for a musician, I don't think that works. But yeah, I don't think that works. We've never done that before. I don't know the specialty occupation for a musician, but you can still apply and we'll look at it. Bethania, our fees are our fees. It is so expensive to run this program. I have to tell you that it's a lot of money and it's not for everyone. And I wish we could discount this for everyone and just make this open, but unfortunately it costs us an unbelievable amount to run this entire operation and do the visas for everyone. Okay, Pert, you want to confirm that you can have your own corporation be the employer. Yes, that's totally fine. Founders can do H-1Bs. And someone asked, can someone do the 5-hour per week fellowship on F1 status without a full-time employer? Yeah, first of all, you can't do it on F1 status. You're going to change status to cap exempt H-1B. And you can do that while you look for a new employer, but you have to be in the US and you have to have someone pay for the program. It has to be a different company that's paying for the program. Can't be you. Okay. So I'm going to take 2 minutes to talk about Build Extraordinary because there's an awesome reality where some of you might be eligible for an O1 visa. And O1s are for extraordinary talent. And you might have an employer that wants to sponsor an O1 for you. That's great. Do it. But you might want to go start your own company. You might want to work for this company, but also work in a side hustle. You might want to go consult on the side, or you might want to work for multiple companies, right? And if you want to do that on an O1, you have to have one option is to have your O1 be with an agent who sponsors your visa. That means that not one company holds your O1 extraordinary ability visa, but an agent helps you sponsor your O1 extraordinary ability visa. So we started a company called Build Extraordinary, where we offer services to be your agent so that you can go work for many different companies within your field. If you want to get an O1, an extraordinary ability visa in the field of software development, because you have proven that you've won hackathons, you've been published, you have code that has been part of a well-funded startup company, and you've been mentioned in that article about the company. You can qualify for an O1, but you might not want that O1 just to be with one company because you might want to leave that company and go get sponsorship at another company, and then you have to redo the application. But if you do an O1 with us, with Build Extraordinary, and you do it with an entity that holds your visa within your field of software development, you can go work for any company in software development and use the same O1. You own it versus the company. So it gives freedom for you to go to multiple companies with your O1. This works for musicians, whoever the musician is, by the way, influencers, artists, musicians, athletes. All of you are qualified for O1 if you meet the criteria. And if you want a sponsor for that, we can be that sponsor. Build Extraordinary. So I am going to drop the links to both Build Extraordinary and to our our website where you can learn more about the fellowship program and actually get started. So this is the get started on, I'm going to put it right into the chat here. Okay, this is going to everyone. This is our fellowship program where you can nominate yourself or you can have your employer nominate you. If your employer nominates you, even better, it's going to move a lot faster. But if you want to nominate yourself, go ahead. You'll get more information. You'll get materials on how to pitch this. Again, this is for the fellowship, the CAP exempt H-1B that we already talked about. Okay, now I'm going to send you the O1 link. You can get started and get in touch with us on this O1 visa, okay? We are offering a monthly fee for the O1 services. You can have your own lawyer or you can work with our lawyers. It doesn't matter. I'll show you. This is our O1 services. O1 agent for extraordinary talent. So we work with exceptional individuals in a variety of fields, and we offer these legal services. We offer agent representation, and we will do the filing. If you only want agent representation, you have your own lawyer, they say they're willing to do this for $3,000, cool. We'll work with them. We'll be the agent, the employer we'll be the agent that is holding your O1. And we will do this at $300 a month. If you want us to do the visa, it's $9.99 a month. And we'll do the legal work. I'm trying to make this more easily accessible for people versus you paying $10,000 to $12,000 up front for some of the attorneys that we work with. So we're trying to do this payment plan method so that it's more accessible for individuals to take ownership, to do the O1s themselves, to get the agent status so that you can hold your O1, have more freedom as you move through your career. The O1 seminar, we're going to dig way more into O1s. That is next week. I'm going to drop the link to that right in here, actually. That's going to be helpful because this is just, I'm doing a very brief overview, but I'm going to have attorneys come in and we're going to talk about what it takes to qualify for an O1 and what an agent is. And that's going to be a lot more helpful for you. Cool. Any other questions from folks at this point? The O1 visa, pretty cool. You can keep renewing it and there's no end time. So once you have an O1, and if you don't want a green card, it doesn't matter. You can keep renewing your O1. The key with the O1 is that, anytime you have another employer, you have to get a new O1 with that employer. But if you have an agent, you just continue to work with the agent because they hold your O1 for as long as you need it for. Okay. O1 webinar. I'm going to look for this on my LinkedIn. Anybody else have a question? I am monitoring the chat right now. Chantel, you didn't get the last link. I don't know what link you're talking about. I think you're talking about the registration for the O1 seminar, which I am putting in right in here now. Okay, the links that are here in the chat are the nomination link for the fellowship program, the O1 program Build Extraordinary, and the most recent one is the form to join our webinar next Tuesday with Jacob Sapoknik, who he has 2 million followers on Instagram. He's an amazing attorney. I met with him in person to talk about O1s and he's fire. So you're in good hands if you join that seminar. Okay. When can you apply for a green card after being on an O1? Could you apply? You can apply for a green card at any point when you're on an O1. So to apply, so if you want more information, I highly recommend that you fill out the nomination form on our website. And once you fill that out, our team will be in touch. Cool. So use those forms, everyone. Please, please follow me on LinkedIn if you don't. I post a lot about all these upcoming information sessions. Is anyone here in Miami? Because I'm coming down to Miami and I'm hosting a breakfast meeting. If anyone wants to come, please shoot me a message on LinkedIn. coming down to Miami next week. And if anyone's in New York, we do these build breakfasts where I bring everyone together. We have breakfast. I bring an attorney. We talk about immigration strategies. We talk about the fellowship. We can talk about your case specifically. I try to make these connections happen so you get good information. Part of my personal mandate. So if you're in Miami, if you're in New York, please let me know. I have breakfast coming up and I'll make sure you get the invite. NYC event, I am posting in just the next week, but it should be either next Tuesday, that would be very last minute, or we're going to do early September. And they're very nice. So we call it Immigration and Eggs. I thought that was creative. All right, everyone. I really appreciate your questions. I got to go rest my voice. And I hope we can make some things happen for all of you and be helpful on your career journey. You can always send me a message, but for the most part, please use those links that I posted in the chat. Those are going to be the best way to get in touch with our organization, make sure we're staying in touch and documenting everything so that we can continue to connect. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and we will talk soon. Bye.